Chapter 2550. How come there's only the three of you left in the psionic team? Chen Zhao looked at Toddy Belster, Yanghua, and Akrabuman. Yanggua's eyes were filled with anger. Chen Zhao, can you explain why your battle affected us? Hiss. Chen Zhao's face was full of mockery. You think our battle affected you? I think you're a hindrance. Yanghua clenched his fists. He wanted to hit Chen Zhao. He knew he couldn't beat Chen Zhao. But he didn't care. He was just worried that if he did it himself, it would affect Toddy Belster and his wife. He'd known in the past. At that time, he didn't think Chen Zhao was so strong that he couldn't surpass him. But now, he finally understood how big the gap between him and Chen Zhao was. It was a gap that made him feel despair. In the past few hours, the battle between Chen Zhao, Leviathan Aberrant Tajimas, and Aqualati Ghastly. It was like a fight between gods. But it also made the mortals suffer. It was unreasonably terrifying. Leviathan Aberrant Tajimas appeared like a meteor falling from the sky. It was his move that killed most of the psionic team on the beach. Toddy Belster and Yanghua were protected by Akrabuman. Fortunately, Akrabuman was a fire dragon. They were also more than 10 kilometers away from the center of impact. So they weren't in the first range of impact. But Akrabuman couldn't protect too many people. That was why only a dozen or so people managed to survive. But this wasn't the final result. The battle between the three monsters kept impacting them. In the end, only Toddy Belster, Yanghua, and Akrabuman were left. The psionic team was almost completely wiped out. Akrabuman had been saved by Chen Zhao before. She'd thought that was Chen Zhao's full strength. But in the battle that followed, only then did she realize how terrifying Chen Zhao was. As a dragon, she was naturally much stronger than humans. Even her husband was much weaker than her. So she had a natural sense of superiority. However, this sense of superiority was gone in front of Chen Zhao. I warned you a long time ago that this is not a place you should come to. But you came. And you even brought your wife. How brave. You even brought a household register to die. You should thank me, Chen Zhao said mockingly. If I didn't come, you too would have died on the same day. Also, you should be thankful that you have a good elder. After all, you have someone to take care of you, but others don't. I don't need your care. Don't you need it? If you think that being saved by me will make you feel ashamed, you can go and die now. Yanggua's face turned red and white. Yanghua looked at Toddy Belster. She didn't speak to him, but turned around and left. Toddy Belster's heart had also trembled just now. He was really afraid that Chen Zhao would burn the bridge after crossing it. He had to admit that Chen Zhao had left a deep impression on him. It refreshed his understanding of power again and again. You have the bloodline of Leviathan now, right? Aqualati Ghastly smiled bitterly. What are you thinking? How can the Demon King's bloodline be obtained by devouring? In hell, there are countless demons with the ability to devour. But I've never heard of anyone who can obtain the Demon King's bloodline through devouring. Can't I? What a pity, Chen Zhao said regretfully. I was quite jealous of one of Tajimas' spells, Chen Zhao said regretfully. I thought you might be able to get his spells. That's right. I only devoured his life force, not his magic or bloodline. Fundamentally speaking, Aqualati Ghastly's combat ability hadn't improved. Apart from his increased stamina. Originally, Aqualati Ghastly's life was about to come to an end. This battle could be said to be his last resort. As his life force was about to run out, his combat ability would become weaker and weaker. But as he devoured Leviathan Aberrant Tajimas' life force, he could only say that he had recovered to his peak state. This didn't mean that he could obtain Leviathan Aberrant Tajimas' power. It did not mean that he could obtain the power of Leviathan Aberrant Tajimas. What magic do you want from him? If possible, we can look in his library. I hope his library hasn't been destroyed, asked Aqualati Ghastly. It's the move that allows two swords to appear. That's summoning magic. Summoning magic? Were those swords created by some kind of magic? Instead, it was summoned? Yes, that spell is saint-level power. Legend has it that there is a holy realm. When a weapon has a soul, it is called a Holy Spirit weapon, and its soul will enter that holy realm, said Aqualati Ghastly. Only those who are recognized by the Holy Spirit weapons can be summoned. In this world, no one can summon the same weapon. As long as the person recognized by the Holy Spirit weapon is alive, the Holy Spirit weapon will not be summoned by a second person. Did Tajima summon a holy weapon as well? That's right. That pair of weapons is called the Black Lotus. Was the Black Lotus flower originally that big? No, the Holy Spirit weapon will automatically adjust its size according to the user's size. You know this spell. Do you know it? No. You don't even know how to do it. Chen Zhao immediately lost interest. Let's see if Tajima's library has any texts about this spell, Orqualati Ghastly said. But this spell doesn't mean anything to you, does it? The Black Lotus is one of the most powerful Holy Spirit weapons, but you can directly break the Black Lotus. The other Holy Spirit weapons are about the same to you. Even if you summon the strongest Holy Spirit weapon, I'm afraid it still won't be able to withstand your torment. It's not because the Holy Spirit weapon is powerful, Chen Zhao said calmly. The Black Lotus was Chen Zhao's style. So, Chen Zhao really liked the Black Lotus and not other Holy Spirit weapons. When he heard Orqualati Ghastly say that in order to summon a Holy Spirit weapon, he first had to be recognized by the weapon, Chen Zhao almost lost interest. Chen Zhao felt that since he had broken the Black Lotus so many times, it was basically impossible for him to get its recognition, let alone summon it. As for other Holy Spirit weapons, Chen Zhao really wasn't interested, unless he could summon a weapon even cooler than the Black Lotus. Of course, it would be best if it was black. Chapter 2551. Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly came to the crack that had been opened earlier. But now, the crack on the ground had been blocked by Aqualati Ghastly with ink. It's a pity that many otherworldly gods escaped earlier. How many are left? Not many, only 100 or so. Aqualati Ghastly sighed. What a pity. Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly entered the crack. These otherworldly gods can be eaten directly? Obtain vitality? Yes. Even ordinary people can eat it. Yes, but ordinary people can only obtain very little vitality. They need to eat it for a long time to get some effect, Aqualati Ghastly said. Even spiritualists need a special way to absorb the vitality in the flesh of the otherworldly god. Also, the eye of the one-eyed otherworldly god can increase one's spiritual power. It can be obtained by cooking and eating directly. Ordinary people can obtain it too. Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly walked in the damp passage. Occasionally, there were some demons struggling at death's door. They hid underground and escaped the calamity on the surface. If they were shivering in a corner, Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly wouldn't be bothered to deal with them. However, there were some demons who thought they had a bit of strength. Some had grand ideas and thought they could succeed in a sneak attack. Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly basically didn't show any mercy. They directly let them meet their master. Just then, a black figure appeared before Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly. It appeared without any warning. Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly didn't even realize how it had appeared. Chen Zhao looked up. It was the giant black panther Pennigan, whom they'd met in the cave on the mountainside. Pennigan, are you going to block our way? Aqualati Ghastly narrowed his eyes at Pennigan. You should know what happened up there, right? Chen Zhao stood behind. Pennigan and Aqualati Ghastly knew each other. They seemed to have a close relationship. Pennigan hadn't done anything in the cave. Pennigan looked at Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly with sparkling eyes. His eyes sparkled as he stared at Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly. Although she had been hiding underground, this did not prevent her from spying on the battle above. She knew how tragic this battle was. Neither of the two people in front of her was a match for her. Chen Zhao was especially terrifying. Even her previous master couldn't fight against him. How do you plan to deal with the Demon Island now? Demon Island belongs to him now, Aqualati Ghastly said, pointing at Chen Zhao. If you want to stay, you can only ask him. I will not accept any form of slavery. I'm not interested in enslaving you, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Perhaps Pennigan was not weak, but it was just not weak. Her strength should be similar to Kong Mosa's. He also had his own domain. However, in front of Chen Zhao and Aqualati Ghastly, it was clearly not enough. Aqualati Ghastly glanced at Chen Zhao. They exchanged glances, and Chen Zhao nodded slightly. Although the two didn't speak, Chen Zhao roughly understood what Aqualati Ghastly meant. He was asking Aquilati if he could make the decision. Perhaps he had a good relationship with Pennigan. Aquilati Gasly didn't want Chen Zhao to make the decision. After all, if Chen Zhao made the decision, it might be very bad for Pennigan. What if you hire me? Hire? The otherworldly god here needs someone to raise and take care of it. Also, some things here need to be guarded, Aquilati Gasly said. There are still a lot of demons left here. They won't be allowed to be released. So for them, they either have to die or be locked up. Do you want to be the warden or the prisoner? Aquilati Gasly said. It wasn't a difficult choice. Pennigan obviously chose the former. Was it a multiple choice question? It was a mental test, right? Pennigan went to gather the demons who hadn't died. Of course, she also went to suppress the demons who still had other thoughts. After all, Leviathan Abhan Tegmis had ruled the demon island for 2,000 years. Naturally, there were many loyal confidants. Or a demon with ambition. Pennigan had to prove his worth. When Chen Zhao and Aquilati Gasly arrived at Leviathan Abhan Tegmis Ranch, they saw a huge otherworldly god. The otherworldly god's body hung in the air. Its tentacles were connected to the surrounding stalactites. There was an opening on its lower body. It looked like a reproductive organ. There were many large and small meat eggs around it. Some were several meters long, while others were the size of basketballs. At the same time, there were some baby otherworldly gods that had hatched from the eggs. This is the mother, Aquilati Gasly said. It's a pity that dozens of otherworldly gods escaped. But as long as the mother is here, they can escape. The mother can't move. It's already merged with the environment, and is the only non-aggressive otherworldly god here. Aquilati Gasly pulled off a larva attached to his arm. The larva was too small, only the size of a palm. Aquilati Gasly threw the baby out, and the other otherworldling gods rushed up in an instant and swallowed their brothers. Do they just eat each other? The mother will lay eggs every once in a while. Each time it lays thousands of eggs. However, after these thousands of eggs hatch, they will begin to devour each other. In the end, only a few otherworldly gods will survive. From a scientific perspective, this method is very inefficient. It can't be helped. If someone interferes, they can't grow. They start eating by eating their brothers and sisters. Other than their brothers and sisters, what else do they eat? Do they eat humans? Their food list is very wide. They can eat almost anything that humans can eat. Tejimas catches fish from the sea as their food, and they have a very powerful psychic mutation ability. Sometimes, the food we throw at them will directly turn into fallen mutants. Look at that turtle-like creature that is clinging to the wall over there. That is already a fallen mutant. Won't the otherworldly god eat the fallen mutants? Yes. When an unusual god matures, it will form its own army of fallen mutants. However, those within this range are all fallen mutants of the Matrix. Although the Matrix won't attack, there won't be any unusual god here that will attack the Matrix and its fallen mutants. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 2552. In some ways, the otherworldly god was truly powerful. He had directly turned the food into a lackey. These fallen mutants need to be cleaned up regularly. If there are too many fallen mutants in the hands of the otherworld god, there is a high chance that they will rebel against the guards here. There are many powerful otherworldly gods here. Can the guards here suppress them? After the death of Leviathan Abaran Tejimas, his domain had completely vanished. Therefore, Chen Zhao's territory was no longer restricted. He could easily cover most of the farms. Within Chen Zhao's territory, there were a dozen terrifyingly powerful otherworldly gods. On the other hand, the average strength of the devil guards here was very average. Most of them were low-level demons, with 1 or 2 being mid-level demons. Normal guards can't suppress those powerful otherworldly gods, but Pennigan can. And these mature otherworldly gods will be enchanted, the kind of magic that won't kill you, but will make you very uncomfortable. Basically, every demon guard can control the enchantment. If the otherworldly god dares to attack, they can directly activate the enchantment. Although it can't guarantee a certain percentage of safety, it can at least give them some assurance. How long is their breeding cycle? The larval stage lasts for about 2 years. During these 2 years, they will constantly devour each other. When they stop devouring each other, it means that they have entered the growth stage. In fact, they are already edible at this stage, but in terms of size, it would be a waste to eat them at this stage. If there is enough food, this stage will last for about 5 years. If there is not enough food, they will continue to devour each other until they reach the second stage of maturity. This stage will last for about 20 years. According to human standards, they will enter a fully mature body at about 27 years old. However, the older the alien god, the more powerful they will be, and at the same time, the better the quality of food will be. Aqualati Ghastly paused and continued. In terms of economic benefits, the unusual gods of about 50 years old are the most profitable, but there should be a few unusual gods of thousands of years old here. Tajimas has been raising them for a long time, so there's no need to kill them. Every time he needs to, he can cut off a piece of their flesh, then give them food, and they will soon recover. According to Aqualati Ghastly's calculations, the total number of otherworldly gods here could provide about 5 otherworldly gods around the age of 50 every year. In fact, according to Aqualati Ghastly, raising the otherworldling gods was like most animal husbandry. The better the otherworldling gods were, the higher the returns. If they didn't raise them well, the profits wouldn't be good, and they might even suffer a loss. The otherworldly god was extremely precious. That was why Aqualati Ghastly arranged for Pennigan to be in charge of the breeding and the management of the remaining demons on the island. After all, neither he nor Chenjiao could stay here. Moreover, Pennigan was definitely more suitable than Chenjiao and Aqualati Ghastly. Are there any of the otherworldly gods that escaped? A few, I guess. But in the past, otherworldly gods often ran away. Chenjiao had encountered otherworldly gods a few times before, and they seemed to have escaped from Demon Island. After checking the situation of the breeding farm, Chenjiao and Aqualati Ghastly prepared to go to the library. Aqualati, do you know how to use this? Chenjiao took out the starlight pointer that he'd stolen from Leviathan Abaran Tegmis. Aqualati Ghastly raised an eyebrow. You got it? Yes. Aqualati Ghastly took the starlight pointer. He tried to input magic power, but there was no reaction. Then he returned it to Chenjiao. I don't know how to use it either. Maybe there are relevant records in the library. Fine. Chenjiao put it away in disappointment. The library was built inside the mountain wall. Although the entrance had been destroyed, the internal structure hadn't suffered a destructive blow. Just then, an old demon appeared before Chenjiao. He was short and shriveled, looking just a bit bigger than an inferior demon. He held a cane and was covered in rough linen. His demonic face was already covered in wrinkles. Chenjiao glanced at Aqualati Ghastly, using his eyes to ask what was going on with this old demon. Your original master is dead, Aqualati Ghastly said, pointing at Chenjiao. Now he's the new master. Hello, master. I'm Gold Padinka, an Awa demon. The Awa demons are very, very weak, but they live longer than most demons, Aqualati Ghastly said. This Gold Padinka is almost 5,000 years old. If there are no accidents, he can live for at least another 3,000 years. He's very weak, but he's very familiar with the books here. Time has given him a lot of time to read them. Master Lord Aqualati, please follow me. Gold Padinka didn't have any intention to resist. To him, it didn't matter who was his master. All he needed to do was to do what he was supposed to do, and ensure that his value existed. No one would make things difficult for a weak demon like him. This old demon had lived more clearly than anyone else. After passing through a few hundred meters, the three arrived at the library. The library was a circular space with a diameter of about 100 meters. The bookshelves were also curved and arranged in circles. Do the books here have sacred power? Aqualati Ghastly asked. Yes, please follow me. Gold Patinka circled around the bookshelves a few times and took down a book with a metal cover from one of the shelves. The bark was made of gold, black, and red metal. There was also a demon carving on it. This is saint-level power to begin with. Chenjiao flipped through it. There was a lot of content in the book. He couldn't finish it in a while, so he put it away. Is there nirvana? Chenjiao asked. Gold Padinka thought for a moment and answered. Yes, please follow me. Then Gold Patinka found a bookshelf and took out a scroll from it. Master, this is Nirvana magic, but it only records the basics of Nirvana magic. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 2553. The more basic the better. Chen Zhao was very satisfied. Are there any books about the Starlight Compass? No, Gold Padinka answered. Chen Zhao was a bit disappointed, but he didn't take it to heart. The Starlight Compass was undoubtedly good stuff, but there was still a long way to go. Chen Zhao wasn't in a rush to get it. To Chen Zhao, this was the icing on the cake. Chen Zhao didn't plan on taking the magic books back. He'd just leave them here. If he needed them, he could come back and get them. Plus, Gould Padinka was watching. He could pick out any book he needed immediately. If he messed up the books when he brought them back, finding a book would be like finding a needle in a haystack. By the way, did we forget about the 2 pirates? Aquilati Gisli asked, chuckling. I hope they weren't affected. Chen Zhao shrugged. Chen Zhao and Aquilati Gisli found Cimenta and Huperi in the cave. They were halfway up the mountain and had the cave as cover. Although they were affected, it wasn't fatal. But when Chen Zhao and Aquilati Gisli stood before them, Chen Zhao and Aquilati Gisli, they were still terrified. After all, they didn't know how Chen Zhao and Aquilati Gisli would treat them. In the face of these two, all their tricks became meaningless. Why did Tegmis bring her here? I don't know. Aquilati Gisli shook his head. Chen Zhao and Aquilati Gisli both stared at Cimenta with scrutinizing eyes. Unfortunately, after studying for a long time, they couldn't find anything on Cimenta. Something that could make Cimenta receive Leviathan at Baron Tegmis's favor. Of course, it might not be favor either. Forget it. Let's go back. Chen Zhao shook his head. Do you want to go back together? Wasn't that obvious? Staying here to drink the demon's company? The 4 landed on the island and left together. The research ship was full of unclean things. But for Chen Zhao and Aquilati Gisli, it wasn't a big deal. On the way back, Chen Zhao's mind was filled with how to deal with the huge piece of gold. Almost 20,000 tons of gold, which was more than a quarter of the gold circulating in the world. Of course, it was almost impossible to sell this batch of gold at its original price. Moreover, he estimated that it would take at least 20 to 30 years to sort it all out. The amount of gold was simply too huge. Aquilati, what do you plan to do next? I don't have any plans. It's the same as before. Continue to cause trouble? Chen Zhao gave Aquilati Gisli a meaningful look. If that's the case, you'd better leave my territory. After all, if you bring me trouble, maybe we'll break off our relationship next time. I will withdraw all my forces from California. Of course, I might withdraw to even further places. Aquilati Gisli didn't like facing Chen Zhao either. That kind of power was so strong that it made people afraid. He really didn't want to face it, especially as an enemy. By the way, can you sell me some gold? How much are you going to charge? Chen Zhao asked. 20% of the market price. Chen Zhao glanced at Aquilati Gisli silently. Fine, how much do you want? Aquilati Gisli felt that his offer was indeed a bit low. 70% of the market price, Chen Zhao said. Then what's the difference between buying it from the market? This batch of gold had no origin or registration. There was nothing. Under normal circumstances, it couldn't be circulated. If he wanted to circulate this batch of gold in the market, it would require a very complicated process. It was like money laundering. The cost of this process would be reduced by almost 30%. He might even lose money. Aquilati Gisli offered to buy some gold from Chen Zhao. The most fundamental goal was to resell it and earn the difference in price. But if he bought it at 70% of the market price, he might only earn money for Chen Zhao. In that case, he might only earn money for Chen Zhao. He probably wouldn't earn a single cent, and would even have to pay for it. Then how much? 40% of the market price. Let's both take a step back, 60%. That's not taking a step back. It should be 50%. 55%. Anything lower than that, Chen Zhao said. Fine, 55% of the market price. I want 20 tons. Only 20 tons? Chen Zhao pursed his lips. 20 tons is already very difficult, Aquilati Gisli said. I can give you low-interest installments, Chen Zhao said. You can hide a bit. Forget it. The price of gold in the market has been very unstable recently. No matter how unstable it is, it won't fall to 55%. No matter what, you won't lose money. If you buy more, you'll have a high chance of making a profit. After all, the American government has to stabilize the price of gold to maintain their purchasing power in dollars. How much interest are you planning to charge? 6% per year. Aquilati Gasly shook his head. No, the interest you're paying is too high. Definitely lower than the banks. That's different. Aquilati Gasly shook his head. You didn't pay anything, and you're charging 6% per year. What do you mean I didn't pay anything? I'm giving you more gold. Isn't that paying? For you, it means you didn't pay anything. We all know that it's hard to sell your gold in a short time. When the two bargained, they were no different from normal businessmen. In the end, they agreed on a price. Aquilati Gasly bought 200 tons of gold for $4 billion. That allowed Aquilati Gasly to increase the purchase volume by 10 times. However, he only paid $400 million in advance, which meant that he still owed Chen Zhao $4 billion. He would pay Chen Zhao in installments over 5 years. The interest Chen Zhao gave Aquilati Gasly was 4% per year. This meant that Aquilati Gasly had to pay Chen Zhao $8 billion in total. Of course, Chen Zhao was actually very willing to give him more gold. Of course, he was also willing to lower the interest and extend the repayment period. However, Aquilati Gasly was more knowledgeable about finance than Chen Zhao. If he extended the repayment period, his income would be further reduced. Chen Zhao considered asking his close friends if they needed some gold as a trump card. To put it bluntly, Chen Zhao's behavior was killing acquaintances. Of course, Chen Zhao could lower their risks appropriately and increase their profits as well. Chapter 2554. Of course, he wasn't in a hurry to get rid of the gold. After all, it was impossible to get rid of such a large amount of gold every few decades. Chen Zhao still cared more about his skills. If he didn't have Neutron Star, Chen Zhao might have really failed. Regardless of whether it was intentional or not, the studio had really helped him a lot this time. This time, they didn't take a boat to the west coast. Instead, they docked at the Charleston port on the east coast, greatly reducing the distance. The whole journey took less than 2 days. Then they flew back to Los Angeles. Home was indeed the most comfortable. Chen Zhao had been away for a long time this time. Portia, this is for you. Because Chen Zhao wasn't home, she basically had to do all the housework. Especially the kids. None of them were easy to deal with. Portia took it and looked. A bag? So heavy. Portia weighed it. Portia glanced at the bag. It was filled with golden beads. Fuck gold. Portia cursed, losing her composure. Chen Zhao stretched his limbs and said calmly, "If you think my gift is vulgar, you can give it back to me." "No, it's not vulgar at all," Portia said, overjoyed. "Boss, why did you suddenly change after one trip?" "No, it's just that I have too much money." Portia glanced at Chen Zhao. Her expression was one of deep disgust. "Portia, do you think there are any places in my house that can be changed to make me look rich?" Portia's expression was lifeless. She'd always hated Chen Zhao, and now she hated him even more. "Boss, anyone who sees your manner will know that you're rich. You don't have to use extra things to pretend. I'm serious. Change all the bowls and chopsticks in your house to gold. That'll make you look really rich." "Good idea." Chen Zhao nodded. "Best if you can make a gold car. You don't need to drive it. Just park it in the garage. When people come and see your car, they'll immediately see your collection." Portia looked at Chen Zhao speechless. Chen Zhao was a bit obsessed. He had an endless amount of gold, but he didn't know how to use it. It was a very painful feeling. So Chen Zhao was even worse now. Since it couldn't be exchanged for real wealth, it could be used to show off. Portia thought that Chen Zhao's brain had really gone haywire. He actually thought that his rotten idea was good. Chen Zhao picked up the phone. "Amira, how are you?" "Not bad. When are you free?" "Now." If you're not free right now, we can arrange another day." "Alright then. If you're free now, come over now." Soon Amira arrived at Chen Zhao's house. "I heard that you've been out recently," Amira asked. "Yes, I went to the sea." Chen Zhao nodded. "I want to ask you a question." What is it? When I went out to sea this time, I got a batch of gold. It's a bit big. How old? Anyway, there's a lot, Chen Zhao said. So what do you plan to do? Do you want it? Me? If you want to sell it to me, I can only give you 40% of the market price at most. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Amira was much harder to deal with than Aquilati Gisli. How about I give you a plan? What plan? Mortgage it to the bank, Amira said. What's the difference between that and selling it to you? Of course. If you sell it to me, the profits and losses are all mine. But if you sell it to the bank, my shares in Citibank are less than 2%, and my family only has 6%. So as long as I don't make any major mistakes, the bank's profits won't have much to do with me. If the bank loses money, you'll lose money too, right? The biggest value of my and my family's shares isn't in the board's dividends, but in keeping it safe. Plus, I won't do anything to harm the bank's interests. Then tell me your plan, Chen Zhao said. When you mortgage the gold to the bank, sign a mortgage agreement with the bank. If you don't pay on time, the gold will automatically belong to the bank. That's actually selling it to the bank, right? Yes, but there's a trick to this kind of mortgage agreement. You can't use less to make up for more. You can only use more to make up for less. Do I need to provide proof of gold production? You just need to provide proof of gold salvaging. You have to pay taxes for the profits from salvaging shipwrecks, right? You have to convert the gold into cash. Wait, can this really work? The tax bureau won't give me any trouble? As long as the reason is legitimate. You can say that I only want to sell it for $1. Who can control how much you sell it for? So, I just need to mortgage it to the bank. Yes, the procedures are a bit complicated, but it's not impossible. You don't have to worry about most of the time. After all, you have your own lawyer. Then how much can I mortgage it for? That depends on how much gold you have. Give me a specific number. 300 tons. How much can I mortgage it for? Chen Zhao asked. Amira's eyes widened. 300 tons? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Even Amira, who was used to seeing the world, could not help but gasp. Are you serious? Yes. This is already the total loan for our entire California branch for a quarter. Can you get a loan? I'll have to report to the other directors about the loan amount that I can give you. You should also contact your lawyer as soon as possible. It's going to be a tough negotiation, Amira said. Amira left in a hurry, so Chen Zhao immediately contacted Alex. Alex, this is the exact situation. 300 tons of gold? Chen, did you wipe out the gold reserves of some countries' banks? Alex, are you sure this can be done? No problem. Tell me your bottom line. You don't need to know what my bottom line is. I'll give you a 3% commission. Chen, are you sure you want to give me a 3% commission? You have to know that 3% is definitely more than $100 million. I've never lied to you before. I understand. Alex nodded. Alex, if this can avoid taxes, does that mean all of my assets can be avoided like this? You're thinking too much. We can only do this time because of the bank's cooperation, because they've received enough benefits. But why should the bank cooperate with you for your other assets? Divine King of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 2555. Amira also received a reply soon. The negotiation officially started. The dollar was the gold standard. Therefore, American banks had a large amount of gold. The value of gold wasn't just reflected in the market price of $40 per gram. When gold reached a certain level, it could control the value of the currency. This was especially true for top banks like Citibank. 300 tons of gold wasn't just a matter of $10 billion. It could create far more value than that. If it were living things of the same value, Citibank might not even care. But gold was different, especially 300 tons of gold. It could even move the rise and fall of the dollar by 100 times. Citibank could even use this method to control the currency to make profits that were several times the value of the gold itself. Therefore, Chen Zhao's side had the initiative in this negotiation. Chen Zhao also wanted to sell the gold, but Andreas didn't know Chen Zhao's bottom line. Of course, a negotiation that involved $10 billion couldn't be decided with just a few words. Moreover, even the bank couldn't take out $10 billion directly. They also needed to raise cash and even move their reserves. The negotiation for this transaction had been completely handed over to Alex. Chen Zhao only needed to sign at the end. In the past 2 days, Andreas had greeted Chen Zhao more frequently. After all, he was Chen Zhao's financial manager. This meant that he could move more funds. Miss Zhang, is it convenient to talk now? Yes. In fact, the studio was having a meeting right now. They were having a creative meeting, but Chen Zhao was their financial backer. Before their work could generate any economic benefits, Chen Zhao was their bread and butter. Even if it wasn't convenient, it had to be convenient. Due to your hard work, Chen Zhao said, I'm going to give you a bonus. Boss, we've only worked for you for less than a week. It's only a week, but I'm still happy, so I'm still going to give you a bonus. Zhang Ting was about to go crazy. From the start, she'd thought that Chen Zhao wasn't normal. Now she was even more certain of her thoughts. What kind of boss would give bonuses for no reason? Your ICBC 6222XXXX received 2 million yuan. Boss, how much are you going to give? Didn't you receive 2 million? All of it? Yes, is there a problem? Our studio only has 15 people now. As the manager of the studio, your hard work is worthy of recognition, so you get 500,000 yuan, and the other employees get 100,000 yuan. Boss, the other two are the cleaning auntie and the security guard. What's wrong with the cleaner and the guard? Aren't they human beings? Aren't they employees of our studio? Send them all. Zhang Ting was speechless. Boss, tell me honestly, do you have too much money? Yes, Chen Zhao answered honestly. I got rich again recently. Boss, you're not doing some illegal business. You need our studio to launder money, right? What are you thinking? I just want to show my care for my employees. If you don't want the bonus, then forget it. Why do you have to make it sound so bad? Okay. Boss, I was wrong. I plan to invite you to Los Angeles for a week. Everything will be covered. Boss, the studio has reorganized itself. There's still a lot of work, and we're hiring new employees. No rush. You can put these things aside first. You need a good attitude. If you have the same attitude, how can you create good work? So come here and relax. Boss, can we not go? No, Chen Zhao said firmly. What about the new employees? I brought them too. I don't need the money. Zhang Ting should have expected such an answer. What could she say? Ever since Chen Zhao took over the studio, he hadn't done anything serious. Chen Zhao was just like a child giving money away. He found ways to give them money. Logically speaking, this was a good thing. But Zhang Ting was uneasy. After all, she hadn't done anything. She just received Chen Zhao's bonus every day. Boss, when do you plan to go out? The sooner the better. I've already booked a hotel for you. Why are you in such a hurry? Because I'm passionate. Zhang Ting really wanted to curse. Fuck your passion. 3 days later, Zhang Ting and the studio's employees walked out of the airport with different expressions. She was finally going to meet the rumored nouveau riche boss. Most of the employees had never gone abroad in their lives. This time it wasn't just the new employees. Even the cleaning lady and the security guard came. At first, Zhang Ting thought that they didn't have passports. In the end, she realized that her worries were completely unnecessary. Hey, over here. Zhang Ting could already see Chen Zhao waving at the airport from afar. There was also a foreign woman beside Chen Zhao. Boss, hello. Zhang Ting walked over and greeted him. I'm here to carry your luggage, Chen Zhao said casually. Let's go. I've arranged a car for you. Let's go to the hotel first. Chen Zhao brought Zhang Ting and the others directly to Del and Risfar's hotel. He had already booked more than a dozen high-class rooms. When Zhang Ting and the others arrived at the entrance, they were shocked by the hotel's extravagance. Boss, how much does it cost for one night? I'm friends with the hotel owner, so there's a discount. As he spoke, Chen Zhao walked to the front desk and helped Zhang Ting and the others check in. Zhang Ting always felt that not only was Chen Zhao a nouveau riche, but he was also crazy and did whatever he wanted. When Chen Zhao brought them to the room, they were shocked again. Zhang Ting had seen the accounts just now. A suite like theirs cost $3,600 per night. Was the boss planning to sell them? It was also a loss-making promotion. Zhang Ting believed that even if they were sold, it wouldn't be enough to cover their expenses. You guys rest in the afternoon. Let's have dinner together. With that, Chen Zhao left. In the evening, Chen Zhao brought them to the hotel restaurant. Looking at the empty restaurant, Zhang Ting knew that her intuition had come true. Chen Zhao had spent on them again. Everyone was a little reserved in front of this rich boss. Come, let's have a drink with the boss, Zhang Ting said. I wish you a good business and a lot of money. Sure, let's have a drink, but I'll just drink juice. I need to drive. I don't want to drive drunk. No one here dared to force him to drink. After drinking the juice, Chen Zhao coughed. Standing up, he said, I have a small request this time. It's what I told you last time. Think of a move for me. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 2556. Boss, why do you want us to think of these ideas? Zhang Ting still asked her own question. It was also everyone's question. Chen Zhao seemed to be very focused on this question. I have a friend who wants to make a movie with this theme. I want to see if you can think of a suitable idea. This answer was unreasonable, but at least Zhang Ting and the others could accept it. Anyway, compared to their boss's various ridiculous actions, this was reasonable enough. Boss, doesn't your friend have his own team? Don't worry about that. Just help me think. If you come up with something, I'll give you a bonus. You can do whatever you want in LA. Even if you want to be a star, I'll find them for you. How could this be so crude, Zhang Ting? And the others weren't the only ones who thought this way. Chen Zhao thought the same too. He felt like a pimp. Boss, if it's just this, you don't have to drag us all here to boost America's GDP, right? This is serious, Chen Zhao said. It's more efficient to discuss it face to face. Boss, X's settings aren't perfect yet. Do you have a more detailed setting? What don't you know about X? X is an alien? Or superpower? Humans. I guess it's superpower, Chen Zhao said. How about resistance? It's about the same as attack. It can resist the power of a small nuclear explosion at close range. It can resist radiation too. Yes, Chen Zhao said. After all, Chen Zhao could directly endure all kinds of radiation in space. He hadn't tried the radiation damage of a nuclear explosion at close range, but it shouldn't be too far off. Then how does X recover his energy? I mean in battle. He has a rather complicated ability to recover energy. As I said before, X has a domain. He can recover by absorbing the energy in the domain, a fat man said. He can use his fist to compress the air at high speed, and then punch it forward to form a small area of high-pressure air. Wasn't this the shadow of a fist? Chen Zhao shook his head. I already have this move. Boss, have you been paying attention to technology recently? Zhang Ting asked. Technology? Does it have anything to do with what we're talking about? Do you know about gravitational waves? I've heard of this term, but I don't know the specifics. To put it simply, it's similar to water waves, but gravitational waves are spatial fluctuations. The collision and fusion of celestial bodies will produce gravitational waves. However, the denser the collision of celestial bodies, the stronger the gravitational waves. Currently, the gravitational waves that humans can detect are from neutron stars and black holes. As for the slightly weaker white dwarfs, they can only be detected at close range. I still don't understand what you are trying to say. X needs about 20 minutes to release neutron star. However, the density of white dwarfs is much lower than neutron stars, so X should be able to create 2 white dwarfs at the same time. Moreover, the efficiency should be much higher than releasing neutron stars. And then, release 2 white dwarfs at the same time and throw them out. Let them collide with each other in their flight paths. Through this collision, it can also create spatial ripples. That's a good idea. The 100,000 is yours, Chen Zhao said readily. It's a good start. Come, keep thinking. Although Zhang Ting said that the skill could be used, it still depended on the effect of actual practice. However, Chen Zhao felt that this skill had a good future. He might be able to use it in a real battle. Zhang Ting didn't know whether she should be happy or not. She'd been with Chen Zhao for 10 days. In the end, she'd gotten back all the money she'd invested in the studio. Boss, if X can compress a white dwarf with one hand, Can I compress multiple white dwarfs in front of me without using my hands? This? Zhang Ting's words opened the door to a new world for Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao wasn't sure that he could do it. However, he could try. Or rather, if he practiced, there seemed to be a high chance that he could do it. I'll give you another 100,000. The other employees in the studio all watched with bloodshot eyes. The second boss was a ruthless person, while the big boss was a werewolf. Boss, can I say something? Just then the cleaning auntie spoke up. Yes, auntie. Boss, do you watch Naruto? You watch. I watch. Boss, do you know about the truth-seeking jade? Well, there are quite a few people in Naruto who can use it, such as Naruto, and that. Yeah, I know. Boss said that X can create white dwarfs. It's like a truth-seeking jade. Let X circle a few people around him. When he needs it, he can throw it out. When he doesn't need it, he can keep it by his side. Whoever comes over can use it. Let's see if he can't smash them to death. Auntie, that seems like copyright infringement, Zhang Ting said with a bitter smile. Not really. The copyright isn't a problem. I think it's possible. Chen Zhao rubbed his chin. It was difficult to control, but if he was familiar with it, it seemed to be able to effectively increase his combat power. This was the upgraded version of Zhang Ting's gravitational wave. Auntie, I'll give you 50,000. Keep up the good work. Boss is such a good person. The cleaning auntie was overjoyed. She'd just said a few words, and she'd actually made a lot of money. Auntie, you read comics too? My son does it. I read it when I'm free at work. Plus, our company does comics. I have to conform to our company's culture, right? Makes sense. Chen Zhao glanced at the others. Look, even our cleaning auntie can help me solve my problems. You guys are professionals after all. Then, Chen Zhao looked at the cleaning auntie. Auntie, if you want to buy anything for your family, put it on my tab. Everyone felt pressured. Chen Zhao's words were too direct. After tasting the sweetness, the cleaning auntie also wanted to help Chen Zhao solve his problems. The security guards' eyes were all red. They hated that they hadn't read comics before. Just then a skinny, four-eyed guy couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and said, Boss, does X want a way to become stronger? What do you think? Theoretically, since X can compress air in his domain, can X's domain keep evolving through this training? To put it simply, it's like having X's domain undergo weight training? Chen Zhao couldn't help but think. All this time, he'd only trained himself. He'd never thought about training his domain. However, the skinny guy's words did remind Chen Zhao. That's what you want to say when you talk to me about the people you bought, right? What do you mean by bought? They're just working for me. Don't avoid the question. They're not in the same field as you. It's very common for you to broaden your horizons and gain enlightenment from people in other fields. They can't give you guidance, but more possibilities. As for me, if I were to tell you, I would only tell you one path, and you'd lose more possibilities. Chen Zhao sounded disdainful, but he remembered the handsome young man's words. But your studio also gave me an interesting enlightenment, the handsome young man said. Help me thank them. 9 Heavens, Divine King. This country doesn't have anything else, but there are plenty of banks. Moreover, it's not just the banks who can afford this batch of gold. There are also many rich people who can afford this batch of gold. 83% of the market price is already a huge profit for them. If it weren't for the fact that you don't have a clear proof of production, people would fight to buy it even if it's 105% of the market price. Alex didn't ask too much about the origin of the gold. Since Chen Zhao didn't tell her clearly, it was probably the kind of gold that came from illegal sources. However, she knew what her duty was. When do we sign the contract? Tomorrow morning if possible. As long as it's morning? Of course. They really want to communicate with you. But I know you won't be interested. I'll leave this to you, Chen Zhao said. Then we'll talk tomorrow. After hanging up, Zhang Ting glanced at Chen Zhao. Boss, if you're busy, you can go back now. No, but I have a contract to sign tomorrow morning. So you guys can do whatever you want in the morning. I'll arrange other projects for you in the afternoon. Boss, we have our hands and feet. We don't need you to accompany us all the time. In my first month in LA, I encountered 2 shootings. One of them was when I was held hostage by the gunman, Chen Zhao said. Since I brought you guys out, I have to ensure your safety. Boss, you're so rich. I think we'll be in more danger if you stay with us. After all, if the kidnappers want to kidnap you, they might hurt us accidentally. That's why I need to find a few scapegoats, Chen Zhao said, smiling. Just then a few guys ran over. Boss, I see that you have diving equipment. Can we go in? The water here is deep and you don't have a diving license, so you can't go in here. Also, without a professional coach, you can't go in alone. When the boat reaches the shallow water, I'll bring you in. Boss, do you have a diving license? I have an athlete diving license. When they reached the shallow water, Chen Zhao brought 4 guys and 1 girl into the water. In fact, this area was near Chen Zhao's moon coast. It was also Chen Zhao's private property. These otakus had never dived before. At first they were very excited, but when they really went into the water, they were afraid and didn't dare to go in. Nevertheless, under Chen Zhao's guidance, they still went in. Zhang Ting had been worried that Chen Zhao didn't prepare well since he brought them overseas in such a hurry. Only now did she realize that her worries were unnecessary. From the moment they got off the plane, from the moment they got on the plane, they received the best trip. When they reached the shore, each of them held a giant clam of various sizes. This one's too small. Throw it back into the sea. Chen Zhao glanced at the giant clam in the skinny 4-eyed guy's hand. Such a small giant clam could only be considered a larva. They couldn't be eaten even if they were fished up. Chapter 2561. Boss, you're thinking too much. Even if you add 100,000 to their fitness cards, they won't enter the gym for a minute. Then build a fitness area in the studio. They have to work out for an hour every day. Boss, there's a park a few hundred meters downstairs. There's no need to build a fitness area. Who's going to supervise the park? Just build a fitness area. Whoever slacks off will get their bonus deducted. Zhang Ting didn't know if Chen Zhao was acting like a nouveau riche again, or if he was just having a bad taste. Boss, are you serious? Of course. Next time I'll take you to Africa. It'll be so boring if you lie down halfway. Zhang Ting decided to change the topic. If they continued, she was afraid that Chen Zhao would ask her subordinates to run a marathon before coming to work. Boss, how did you train your body? To be honest, Zhang Ting's first impression was that Chen Zhao was a nouveau riche. However, his well-toned muscles were definitely much prettier than the handsome men she'd seen on TV. Yes, in her eyes he was beautiful. His body wasn't like those bodybuilders with explosive muscles. Using the current popular saying, it was wearing clothes to look skinny, taking off clothes to reveal flesh. Therefore, she really couldn't define Chen Zhao's temperament. Simply put, keeping your mouth shut and moving your legs is more effective than any diet pill. But you ate a lot for lunch too. Eat as much as you can, Chen Zhao said. For people like me who don't have excess fat, I get hungry more easily than fat people. So I need lots of nutrition. You'll get beaten up if you say that. Because everyone had gone to lie down, Chen Zhao had the boat dock. Going out to sea looked pretty classy. In fact, it was very tiring. Chen Zhao couldn't drag them up and make them jump around for a few more hours. However, as soon as they reached the shore, they seemed to recover. Boss, what's next? My original plan was to return in the evening. After dinner, you guys can go back to the hotel to rest. It's still early now. What do you want to do? I want to go to Beverly Hills. I want to go to Hollywood. I want to go to San Fernando Valley. All the male colleagues looked at this colleague. If you want to go to San Fernando Valley, go by yourself. I'm a big boss. It'll be embarrassing if I take you there, Chen Zhao said, annoyed. Who wants to go to Hollywood? I'll take you there. Actually, everyone was interested in Hollywood. In the end, everyone followed Chen Zhao to Hollywood. For the vast majority of young people in this world, Hollywood was the land of dreams. Even amateurs like them could not help but come to pay a visit. Don't think that pilgrimage is too much. Since the 1960s, Hollywood had been the benchmark and holy land of the film industry. After abandoning the European tradition and literature, and completely industrializing and commercializing movies, Hollywood also burst out with unprecedented charm and appeal. For example, those European directors were all denouncing Hollywood for ruining the art of film. In the end, when they received the invitations, all of them felt really good. It was an indisputable fact that no matter which country or region's film industry developed, they would have to crown themselves as a certain place's Hollywood to flaunt their standards. For example, domestic actors all risked their lives to come to Hollywood for gold plating. What was it for? When the domestic box office reached $70 billion a year, they were proud and felt that the film industry was close to Hollywood. However, they did not know that Hollywood's $12 billion a year was only in China. The worldwide box office was $100 billion. The box office could not fully reflect the power of Hollywood's film industry. The $400 billion weekly box office was the scariest. It was just like how Disney produced a fairy tale every year and kept reshooting it. What was it for? Most of the time, the box office suffered losses. Was Disney stupid? It was to boost the sales of their peripherals. A complete film industry chain was the foundation of Hollywood's power. Domestic movies were still in the early stages. The box office looked good, but there was no complete industry chain. It was just like the Japanese animation industry chain. When China could complete an industry chain, it would be truly powerful. The technology could be learned from others. The special effects companies in China were not bad. Many Hollywood special effects were outsourced to local special effects companies. However, the industry had to be built bit by bit. This was a vicious cycle. Because the industry chain was not complete, it was too risky to just rely on the box office to recover the cost. Because of the high risk, the investors did not dare to invest too much money. Without enough money, the special effects were not good enough. The huge box office earnings of domestically produced movies every year were actually supported by a few movies with a conscience. Without these movies, the annual box office would be halved. However, a country's film industry could not only be supported by a few movies with conscience. There were many places in Hollywood that paid to visit. This was actually one of Hollywood's industries. The income was not high. In fact, tens of millions of tourists visited Hollywood every year. How could he say that he had been to Los Angeles if he had never been to Hollywood? Boss, do you have connections in Hollywood? Zhang Ting asked. What? Are you planning to enter Hollywood? Chen Zhao teased. If Xiao Qi and the others want to have fun, they can be extras too. They can brag that they filmed Hollywood blockbusters when they come back. Chen Zhao couldn't help but laugh. I'll ask if my friend needs an extra. Boss, you really have connections? I know 2 or 3 people, Chen Zhao said casually. Steven, what are you doing now? Fuck you asterisk shoal. How long have you been missing? I went to your house last week, but you weren't home. I was chased out of Mirror Lake by Princess. If you didn't want the wine in my cellar, would you have been chased by Princess? Chen Zhao knew Steven too well. He had only been chased by Princess when Fei Lai was not home. There was only Portia and the kids at home. Then, he would steal the wine from the cellar. That was why he was chased by Princess. Humph, I hate you now. If you don't give me a box of wine, we're done. Are you on set now? Yes. Why? I have a few friends who want to have fun. Do you have any extras? 1 or 2 scenes. Chapter 2562. Okay, come with me. Boss, you really have a way? Yeah. Didn't I tell you last time that X's settings and skills were all for a friend of mine? Okay. Zhang Ting still didn't believe Chen Zhao. If it was a proper film company, how could they not have their own creative team? Was Chen Zhao's friend the type from Sanctuary Film Company? The more Zhang Ting thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Sanctuary Film Company was probably unfamiliar to most people. But most people had been harmed by the company. Sanctuary Film Company was the most famous copycat film company in the world. They would copy whatever other people filmed. And the most amazing thing was that they still maintained a very special record. That was, none of the movies they had shot had any losses. Chen Zhao brought them to a film set. Chen Zhao saw someone familiar outside. Fantas. Hi, Chen. Fantas glanced at the people behind Chen Zhao. Who are they? My friends. I brought them here to ask your boss for a few extra roles. Okay. Fantas waved at the 2 security guards in the distance. Chen Zhao and the others successfully entered the set. Before he entered the interior, he could already hear the roar. Zhang Ting, and the people behind her couldn't help but shiver. She didn't hear it too clearly just now, but she heard at least 3 Fs in that sentence. Chen Zhao chuckled and walked into the interior. He saw Steven spitting saliva at an actress. The actress was trembling and didn't dare to say anything. She looked like she was about to cry from Steven's spitting. When Zhang Ting and the others followed Chen Zhao in, they realized that this wasn't a normal crew. After all, the one who was scolding him was none other than Steven. Chen Zhao walked to the camera and greeted the assistant director. Then he pulled Steven's chair over and sat down. He crossed his legs and watched Steven spitting. Chen Zhao knew more than half of the people in Steven's crew. To Chen Zhao, this was no different from going home. Yu Wenhui walked over with a cup of coffee. Thank you. Chen Zhao took the coffee. That's my coffee. Why did you give it to this asterisk shoal? Steven yelled when he realized that his coffee was in Chen Zhao's hand. Yu Wenhui had long been used to her boss. She just shrugged lightly. Boss, you should find the culprit who took your coffee instead of getting angry at a weak assistant like me. Who? Chen Zhao blew at the coffee in his hand. It's already afternoon, and you still want to drink coffee to refresh yourself. Steven, are you tired? Do you want me to prescribe some medicine for you? Fuck off, get out of my way. This is my place. Zhang Ting was surprised to see the interaction between Chen Zhao and Steven. Looking at how familiar they were with each other, it didn't seem as simple as just knowing each other. These are your friends? Yes, I'll be out in the country for a week. Do you need any extras? If not, I'll ask James. James's new film has been shot for a long time. It's now in post-production, so he won't have any chance to act as an extra in a short time. Fine. How many extras do you need? Chen Zhao asked. Doesn't matter. It's just changing the original group members. Steven didn't have any psychological counseling when it came to this. Chen Zhao pouted. I feel like I'm a bad guy. Wait for a while, I still have a few scenes that require an extra. Just find a place to sit, Chen Zhao said to Zhang Ting. Zhang Ting sat beside Chen Zhao and glanced at Steven in front of her. Steven was directing at the moment and didn't have time to care. Boss, are you close to director Steven? Not really. Wasn't he lying through his teeth? If this was not close, then there really wasn't anyone close. Boss, the X setting you mentioned is for director Steven? No. All the employees in the studio were very excited. After all, it was the great director Steven. If there was a big boss in the film industry, it would definitely be Steven. Although Chen Zhao was here, when Steven was immersed in filming, he displayed absolute professionalism. He didn't have any distractions. Every scene had to be perfect. The actress who was almost scolded to tears by Steven finally gave a satisfactory performance after he threatened to replace her. The actress who was almost scolded to tears by Steven finally gave a satisfactory performance after Steven threatened to replace her. There were only 4 short scenes, but Chen Zhao still waited for an hour and a half. They even received some simple makeup from the production team's makeup artist. Then Steven came over to talk to them about the scene. Usually, Steven wouldn't talk to a group. It was only because they were Chen Zhao's friends. So he still showed enough friendliness. But Steven didn't know that when they came in, his image had already been completely destroyed by his vulgarities. Their scene was very simple. The supporting actress entered the restaurant and fought with the main character. Zhang Ting's group would play the restaurant's customers. They were the ones who were affected. It would have been fine if there were only 1 or 2 Asian faces. But they were all Asian. So Steven had no choice but to change the script slightly. But this was only a small matter. He just had to change the scene to a Chinese restaurant on Chinatown. Zhang Ting filmed 2 scenes. She was the owner of the restaurant, so she had 1 more scene, and a few more scenes than the others. Everyone was still in a state of excitement when they finished filming. Even Zhang Ting, who was usually calm and collected, could not hide her excitement. How was it? Did you enjoy it? Yes. Zhang Ting gradually calmed down, but she was still amazed by Chen Zhao's power. This wasn't something a nouveau riche could do. After bidding farewell to Steven, Chen Zhao left with his group. Actually, this opportunity wouldn't bring any change to their lives. At most, it was just something they could brag about in the future. Boss, you're serious about making Chinese comics, right? What do you mean serious? Have I ever not been serious before? Chen Zhao felt a little guilty when Zhang Ting asked this, because his original intention wasn't to make Chinese comics. At the moment, Chen Zhao was also reflecting. When had he exposed his impure intentions? No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't think of anything wrong. Boss, if you want to make Chinese comics, you can't spend money like this. You have to invest it into the promotion and production of your works. I'm spending a lot of money, Chen Zhao said, embarrassed. Why are you suddenly so serious? Let's change the topic. Chapter 2563. You should know what it means. Zhang Ting glanced at Chen Zhao. Don't make your employees your enemies. Chen Zhao nodded. Looking at Zhang Ting, Chen Zhao sighed. I think you're more suitable to be a life coach. When Chen Zhao returned home, he passed by a construction site. It was mountain town near the center. It was about 1,000 square meters. Chen Zhao stopped because he saw Clive's car. When he entered, he saw Clive talking to the person in charge of the site with a construction cap. Hi Clive. Mr. Chen, how come you're here? Is this the new location for your kindergarten? Yes, I should have sent you a message already. Didn't you see it? I wasn't here before, so I probably didn't receive the message. Chen Zhao looked around. Is it going well? Nothing bad, Clive said. It'll be officially completed by the beginning of February. The new students can start school in the middle of February. Okay, Clive said. Since it's for kids, we have to pay attention to the construction quality. We can't have any problems here. America was a country full of tolerance and protection for underage children. Anything that involved underage children would become a big problem. Plus, Chen Zhao's own child was going to school. Of course, he had to make everything perfect. Clive nodded. Then Chen Zhao said, Tell me if you don't have enough money. Got it. Chen Zhao didn't stay long and left in a hurry. When he returned home, he realized that there was a little girl. Darling, how come there's a little angel here? Chen Zhao asked Fei Lai. That's a classmate Iraj brought back. She's staying here tonight. Did you tell her parents? Chen Zhao asked. Here, if you bring a girl home without the other party's guardian's knowledge, you'll be in trouble. Even if they had good intentions, they could still be accused of abducting a minor. I talked to her mother, Fei Lai said. She agreed. The girl played with Iraj and a few other children. They seemed to be very close. However, she was only 6 or 7, so she was still a bit scared when she saw Chen Zhao. The boys were soaking in the water with little Jerlin. Speaking of little Jerlin's swimming talent, no one could compare to her. Even Kilo, who was the oldest among the boys, could not outrun Jerlin if he did not use his magic. Little Jerlin was not even a year and a half old, and she was no bigger than a child her age. But she swam very fast in the water. Jerlin seemed to have a natural affinity for water. Most adults might not even be able to swim faster than little Jerlin. This was Chen Zhao's most enjoyable moment. Just then, 2 brownish-yellow figures pounced on Chen Zhao. Simba and Nana were no longer the little ones they used to be. They had grown quite a bit, and were probably about the size of 2 half-grown little yellow dogs. Briar and Bramble hugged Chen Zhao's legs. They had grown quite a bit too, but compared to their mother they were still tiny. Briar and Bramble also wanted to climb onto him, but they couldn't. In fact, they are very good at climbing trees. In the whole family, they were the most capable. It was just that he could go up but not down. He climbed to the top of the tree several times, but did not dare to come down. Chen Zhao had to go up and catch them. At night, Chen Zhao entered the river map again. Chen Zhao kept the handsome boy's words in mind. Chen Zhao looked at the spell the handsome boy had given him, and then compared it with what he had modified. But after a while, another thought popped into his head. Was everything he was doing just to change things? Chen Zhao could vaguely feel that something was about to catch that point, but it was hard to find and grasp. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Chen Zhao still did not make any progress. Chen Zhao's brain was a bit slow. He had never sat on the ground for so long. It was not just to change, but to become more perfect. Chen Zhao suddenly thought of a question. What was the future of the small world? To make the small world bigger? Vaster? Was this the future of the small world? If it was just to expand the small world, then all this would be meaningless. Take Bifla for example. As a powerhouse who had just entered the Shangqing realm, he was many times weaker than his own little world. But was there a difference between the two? Chen Zhao sat there for another month. Chen Zhao kept thinking along this train of thought. The idea in his head became clearer and clearer. Chen Zhao looked at the cultivation method he'd modified. Chen Zhao finally understood what the handsome boy meant. But now he also felt the difference. With just one glance, the handsome young man knew what his problem was. But Chen Zhao actually used more than a month to think it through. Chen Zhao started to modify the cultivation method according to his own train of thought. Chen Zhao was not sure if his train of thought was correct, but he felt that he had found the direction. Old Zhang, how about coming to Los Angeles? What? Communication. Communication? I might have found a path, but I need more communication. Okay, I'll come. After hanging up, Chen Zhao called Bifla. Bifla? Then it was Blood Mary 23. Blood Mary. Bifla and 23rd Blood Mary also agreed to come to Los Angeles. On the other hand, Chen Zhao had spent 2 nights in the river map. He had spent a few months there. There was no progress at all in his original cultivation plan. All his energy was spent on establishing theories. Since it was still early, Chen Zhao ran to the sky to cultivate his yin-yang inner elixir. He didn't return to the manor until 5 in the morning. The lesser demons were already busy at this time. After 8 in the morning, the family woke up one by one. Portia arrived at breakfast time. Then, those who should go to work went to school. Chen Zhao told Portia to stay at home. He had to sign a contract. When Chen Zhao arrived at the signing site, Alex brought him in. The signing site wasn't a public place. Yamala was there too. She was the bank's representative. After a simple greeting, they started signing the contract. Of course, they only started after the lawyers of both sides reviewed the contract. Both sides had large and professional lawyers. Even though they had agreed beforehand, they still had to examine the contract word by word on the spot. Finally, a lawyer would explain every clause of the contract to Chen Zhao. Chapter 2564. The signing process went smoothly. No one asked Chen Zhao about the origin of the gold. Both parties seemed to have silently acknowledged the origin of the gold. Chen, let's go sit in the next room, Amira said. Chen Zhao nodded and went to the next room with Amira. Congratulations, you've earned a lot of money again. Amira, I'm selling at a loss. Amira didn't retort. Indeed, the bank she represented didn't lose money this time. But Chen Zhao's profit was real. Moreover, the gold that Chen Zhao had sold probably wasn't bought with his own money. Chen, do you have any more gold? No. I sold all 300 tons to your bank. I don't have any more. Really? Amira stared at Chen Zhao. I still have some scattered gold, but it's definitely not enough to satisfy your appetite, Chen Zhao said calmly. He'd already sold 300 tons. Chen Zhao wouldn't admit that he still had more. The bank's purchase price was higher than Aqualati Gisli's. In reality, the two transactions were completely different. The bank called it a mortgage loan. It could only do this once. Chen Zhao's sale to Aqualati Gisli was the real deal. As long as Chen Zhao still had stock, he could sell it to anyone. Of course, it was for long-term economic benefits. Chen Zhao couldn't sell so much in a short time, even if he had a good relationship with Amira. Fine. Amira didn't continue on this topic. Actually, she was also testing him. She couldn't be sure if Chen Zhao still had gold. But even if Chen Zhao had gold, at this time, temporarily stopping trading and keeping the gold in hand was also the wisest choice. When the amount of gold reached a certain level, it wouldn't just be gold anymore. At that time, gold could be used as a bomb to shake the market. Amira wasn't asking as a representative of the bank. Instead, she was asking as a representative of her family. Financial giants like her and her family all knew the importance of gold. So she and her family wanted to buy some gold to keep as a trump card. It wasn't that there wasn't gold on the market, but it was basically scattered gold. There were also a few people who had large amounts of gold. But if Chen Zhao wanted to buy gold from them, therefore, what was needed was not 83% of the market price. Basically, The other party would ask for 105% of the market price, or even 110%, or 120%. Therefore, there weren't many people like Chen Zhao who had gold at a low price anymore. No, he was the only one. Chen, if there's gold next time, can you inform me first? I was the first to inform you. You could have purchased it in your own name. Amelia smiled bitterly. Her initial thoughts were simple. She couldn't possibly give him such a high price. Therefore, Chen Zhao would definitely choose to sell it to the bank, not to her. Moreover, neither she nor her family could afford $10 billion to buy so much gold. Her family couldn't afford such a huge amount of gold. She didn't think that Chen Zhao would split 300 tons of gold. If he sold 300 tons of gold to the bank, or split it into 2 or 3 portions, the value would be different. Anyway, my family wants to buy a batch of gold. How much can you eat? He asked. Chen Zhao asked. Less than 100 tons. Amelia glanced at Chen Zhao. You really have it? I don't have 100 tons, but I can take out a few dozen, Chen Zhao said. I want all of it, according to the price you agreed with the bank. Sure. Chen Zhao didn't want to go through the trouble of negotiating again. When will you deliver it? In a few days, Chen Zhao said. I'm busy now. Okay, let me know when you're free. I need to raise money too. Not everyone could have a terrifying cash flow like Chen Zhao. Even Amelia and her family's assets were more than 10 times that of Chen Zhao's. But the cash they could actually take out was probably less than 1/10 of Chen Zhao's. Then I'll have someone send the gold to your house first. When you've collected the cash, transfer it to me. Aren't you afraid that my family will betray you? I'm not a good person, Chen Zhao said calmly. I'm not restricted from attacking normal people, Chen Zhao said calmly. If you harm my interests, I'll destroy you physically. Amelia's expression froze. She'd only been joking. Now, she suddenly felt that her joke wasn't that funny. I'm a bit busy these days. Just let me know when you're transferring the money. After discussing with Amelia, Chen Zhao left the office. Andrews had been waiting for Chen Zhao outside. Mr. Chen, the bank's money has been transferred to your account. Yeah, same rules as before. Don't give me those high-risk investments. You can do the rest. Got it, Mr. Chen. Andrews suppressed the excitement in his heart. With more than $10 billion in his hands, he felt like he could call the wind and summon the rain. If a rich person had $1 million and invested it on Wall Street, he might lose everything. If the rich person invested $100 million on Wall Street, there was a high chance that he wouldn't lose anything. But if it was $10 billion, he could be the banker himself. Investing money into high-risk projects? Which project could take him more than $10 billion in cash? If he could be the banker, he obviously wouldn't be the banker. Chen Zhao trusted Andrews quite a bit. At least he was very obedient. Oh, Andrews, help me select some aircraft manufacturers. I want to buy a few planes. Okay, Mr. Chen. Andrews nodded. Mr. Chen, what type of plane do you prefer? I plan to buy 2 planes, Chen Zhao said. One would be best if it's a large one, and a small one. Mr. Chen, Gulfstream would be the best for a small private plane, Andrews said. Andrews said, as for large aircraft, there are many competitive companies. Airbus and Boeing are the leaders in large passenger aircraft. Sure. Organize the information and give it to me. Chen Zhao walked a few steps and stopped. I have a few friends who came from China. They want to go hunting in the forest. Mr. Chen, is tomorrow okay? Okay, tomorrow. Chen Zhao nodded. Then Chen Zhao went to the hotel. Boss, are you done? Zhang Ting was a bit surprised to see Chen Zhao so early. When Chen Zhao called yesterday, Zhang Ting was beside him. She heard Chen Zhao say that he had something to do with the contract this morning. She thought that Chen Zhao wouldn't even have a day. I'll just sign it. It won't take long. Chen Zhao shrugged. I'll take you to Beverly Hills in the afternoon. Zhang Ting's eyes brightened. Beverly Hills was a top shopping mecca. She also heard that there was a high chance of meeting Hollywood stars there. 9 Heaven's Divine King. Chapter 2565. Beverly Hills had the title of the most luxurious residential area in the world. There were countless mansions here. During the economic crisis, property prices all over the world plummeted. Only Beverly Hills property prices were still rising steadily and slowly. Of course, Beverly Hills didn't just have mansions. Wilshire Avenue was the most famous commercial street in Beverly Hills. There were many commercial buildings and countless top department stores here. Close to 200 specialty stores were located in the center of the commercial street. For example, Roeder Avenue was also a gathering place for all kinds of top luxury and trendy brands. Each store was dazzling and uniquely designed. It could even be said that the owners of these stores were at least multimillionaires. Chen Zhao had once wanted to buy a few stores as investments. However, even if the stores along the street were for sale, they were all much higher than the actual price. A small store with an area of only about 20 square meters would cost $20 to $30 million. There was also the farmers' market, which was known as the gathering place for gourmet food. It gathered the most famous food in the world, and was also a favorite place for tourists. In addition, Hollywood stars and celebrities liked to open shops here, and they were successful in every endeavor. There were also many attractions here, many of which had been filmed in movies. One afternoon wasn't even enough to walk around. However, for Zhang Ting and the others, it was a crazy journey. Chen Zhao had seen this expression on Portia's face before. It was the kind of crazy expression that would appear on people's faces when they saw famous brands and luxury goods. These girls had completely lost their minds and were buying luxury goods that were far higher than their income. It was just like when Portia was in Shinjuku, Tokyo. It seemed like all the women in the world were the same. They walked in and out of every luxury and brand store tirelessly. As for the men who didn't want to shop, Chen Zhao arranged for them to sit in a restaurant. "Chi, are you sure you want to buy these shoes?" Zhang Ting also lost her composure, but she was still shocked when she saw the price tag on the shoes. $13,500. That was in US dollars. "But I really like them." She was conflicted. "Buy them if you like them," Chen Zhao said casually. "Treat it as a gift." "Boss, that's not appropriate." "There's nothing inappropriate about it. You guys can also choose something within $20,000. Treat it as a gift." The girls all screamed in excitement. They wanted to pounce on Chen Zhao and give him a few bites. When Chen Zhao paid, Zhang Ting didn't even dare to look at the long bill. "Since we're out to play, let's enjoy ourselves. There's no need to dampen everyone's spirits. Boss, it's not easy for you to earn money. Your behavior is simply, you want to say that I'm a nouveau riche again." "No, it's a prodigal son." "Prodigal sounds better than nouveau riche." "Boss." "Alright, that's enough. You guys answered my questions before and helped my friend solve a lot of problems. So he asked me to thank you properly. I won't spend any effort on it. Rewarding you with money is the only way I can think of." Zhang Ting was speechless. She felt that Chen Zhao was just making up excuses. Chen Zhao dared to pay, and so did the girls. By the time they finished strolling around Roeder Street, everyone was carrying big and small bags. "Let me take it back to the hotel," Chen Zhao said. "It's not convenient to carry it like this." Zhang Ting patted her head. "Boss, that's enough for today, right?" She was really afraid that these little girls would go crazy and cause her to lose all her fortune. The cheap ones cost $200 or $300, and the expensive ones were endless. "Alright, let's go find the guys first. They'll probably have their butts rotten from sitting in the restaurant for the whole afternoon." In the next few days, Zhang Ting watched Chen Zhao spend money like water. It was difficult to visit all of Los Angeles in a few days, but if they had money, they could really enjoy most things. Basically, Chen Zhao could satisfy whatever they wanted to see or play. For example, concert tickets or boxing tickets. Chen Zhao settled them with a phone call. On the 7th day, the studio was finally going back. Everyone was enjoying themselves so much that they forgot to go home. Chen Zhao sent them to the airport. "I've already checked your things," Chen Zhao said. "Be careful on the way. Work hard this year, and I'll arrange for you to go abroad again at the end of the year." Everyone looked at Chen Zhao expectantly. "Boss, can we choose our own place?" "Yes." Chen Zhao nodded. "If you can do something that satisfies me, even if you choose the moon, I'll send you there." Then Chen Zhao looked at Zhang Ting. "Zhang Ting, expand the studio and hire more people. Don't you want to animate your work? What kind of animation can you make with just a few people? Are you going to outsource to other companies? Zhang Ting was speechless. That was her original plan. Outsource to other companies. She could already guess what Chen Zhao was going to say next. How much does it cost to set up an animation department? Boss, it's a lot of money. The animation department will either train new people or poach old people. Also some equipment. How much? Boss, it's not a matter of money. Even if we set up an animation department, we'll be incurring losses for the next few years. Who knows when we'll recover our costs? You should know the situation in the domestic market. There's a market, but we need to develop it. It's not a big deal to lose tens of millions a year, as long as you can find me more people with brains. Chen Zhao's real goal was to find more people. If he had similar problems in the future, they could help him plan. Boss, if you really want to make money, other industries are more profitable than Chinese comics. Don't think that Chinese comics are rising just because Nez's box office hit. Look at how many Chinese comics died in the past. Okay, I understand what you're trying to say, Chen Zhao said calmly. I've never thought about making money from Chinese comics. I just want to do something for them. Even he felt a little guilty when he said this. His goal had never been so noble. Just tell me a number. How much do I need to invest in the early stage? And how much do I need to invest every year in the future? 200 million in the early stage. In the future? I'm not sure. Okay, find a professional manager first. Since we're going to set up an animation department, it can't just be a studio. We have to set up an animation company. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 2566. Chen Zhao could get Zhang Ting to start a studio. A studio didn't need much management. Everyone could just focus on cleaning. However, it was different for a company. Boss, can I find someone I know? Zhang Ting asked. Sure, but I'll send someone to the finance department myself, Chen Zhao said. It wasn't a matter of trust. Any company had to be supervised. Without supervision, unspeakable things would grow. It was unavoidable. Just then, a group of people walked out of the airport. A group of bodyguards in black surrounded a man from Central Asia. Chen Zhao. It was Bifla. How did you know my flight would arrive at this time? I don't know, Chen Zhao said casually. I'm here to send my friends off. Boss, you have guests. We'll go into the departure lounge first. Okay, I won't send you guys in. Director Zhang. That Central Asian guy looks very powerful. He has 20 bodyguards alone. Of course, Zhang Ting whispered. He's the richest man in Central Asia, gunned by Bifla. Our big boss knows someone like that? I thought he was just a nouveau riche. What are you thinking? Our boss is smarter than anyone. Do you really think he's a nouveau riche? Smarter? Really? I just think he's dumb. He's a university professor. His knowledge can only be higher than yours. Zhang Ting rolled her eyes at her assistant Xiao Qi. You think he's dumb because he doesn't want to argue with you. Zhang Ting didn't know what business Chen Zhao did. But after interacting with Chen Zhao for a few days, Chen Zhao often didn't hide his calls from her. Once, she heard Chen Zhao say that he would chase them out of the California market and inform all the supermarkets. If anyone put their products on the shelves, he would cut off their supply. Zhang Ting knew that Chen Zhao's business was definitely not small. No ordinary manufacturer would dare to run out of stock in a supermarket. Because supermarkets were the upstream of manufacturers, they were usually in a strong position. Many times, if a manufacturer offended a supermarket, then it wouldn't be the manufacturer cutting off their supply. Instead, the supermarket wouldn't even give them a chance to put their products on the shelves. This was because almost every product had products of the same type and quality. Supermarkets didn't care if they had one more or one less product. Yet, Chen Zhao could say something like that with such confidence. In that case, Chen Zhao's products definitely had a strong consumer base. And he even knew a big shot like Gun by Bifla. Looking at their interaction, it was not something an ordinary business partner could compare to. Without a certain background, people might not even bother with you. If Chen Zhao wasn't married, he would already have a child. Zhang Ting couldn't help but say that Chen Zhao was tempted. Although she came from a good family background, she couldn't compare to Chen Zhao in terms of family background. In the past few days, Chen Zhao had probably spent more than what she had worked hard for in the past few years. There was also the wealth that Chen Zhao had displayed in the past few days. That super cruise ship was estimated to cost more than $100 million. Also, he came to the hotel in a different car every day. Just the Porsche 918 alone had already gathered 4 colors. Chen Zhao, you said you found a way to break through? It's hard to say. I just found some ancient books and studied them. Combined with my own situation, I came up with a solution. Chen Zhao didn't hide it. He directly took out the content of his modified cultivation method. Bifla took it. It was arranged with the cultivation method of the small world, Chen Zhao's experience and thoughts, as well as the research process. Bifla read carefully. His expression changed. He couldn't tell if it was good or bad. How is it? I can't tell. I've never heard of a small world having a cultivation method. Then wait. Old Zhang and Blood Mary should be here today or tomorrow, Chen Zhao said. Bifla nodded. The 3 of them had talked on the phone before. The 3 placed great importance on this meeting. After all, in the current world, the 4 of them were already at the peak of humanity. No one could give them guidance. They had to figure it out themselves. If the 4 of them were still hiding things, in the end, none of them would be able to break through. If one of them could break through, the others would all die in the future. The person who broke through would also protect their heritage for the sake of their past relationship. This was based on their current status and future considerations. Thus, no one would hide things on their path of advancement. They couldn't hide things. Bifla had come publicly this time. Zhang Tianyi and 23rd Blood Mary were both very low-key. They didn't let anyone know that they'd come to Los Angeles. The 3 leaders were all here. Chen Zhao came to their gathering. Without wasting any time, he went straight to the topic. Look at this first. Chen Zhao took out the cultivation method of the small world. This, 23rd Blood Mary glanced at it, and then shook her head. I don't understand. Zhang Tianyi took it and studied it carefully for a long time. Then he looked up and asked, this is used to cultivate the small world, right? Chen Zhao nodded. 23rd Blood Mary's expression changed. In the past, she'd always been under Zhang Tianyi's name. She'd been a bit unwilling at first. But now, she had to admit that Zhang Tianyi's title of number 1 in the supernatural world wasn't just for show. The symbol of Shangqing is the small world. So, I'm thinking if the small world is the key to breaking through. Why do you think so? I don't think so. In the beginning, my goal was to cultivate the strength of my pocket world. After all, everyone lived in a different era, and they were limited by the era. Perhaps their cultivation was not as good as today's, but in terms of comprehension or talent, there might be people with great wisdom among the ancient people. They might be faking it or personally comprehending it. It wouldn't be surprising if they left some techniques behind. However, they still couldn't comprehend the most important thing. What they lacked now was exactly what Chen Zhao had given them. The 2 worked together. After removing the unnecessary and conflicting parts, they combined their cultivation techniques. A complete and perfect set of techniques was finally born with the 4's hard work. Make a copy for yourselves. Chen Zhao's face was full of joy. He hadn't cultivated it yet, but at least he had some knowledge. He could tell that this set of techniques was more complete and advanced than the ones he'd taken out before. It's a pity that I can't cultivate it yet. Bifla sighed, but this didn't stop him from copying the cultivation technique. Why? His territory has just been formed. It's not stable yet, and his cultivation is too low, the 23rd generation Blood Mary said. The 23rd Blood Mary said, even I might find it hard to cultivate. Among the 4 of us, only you and old Zhang can cultivate it directly. Zhang Tianyi stroked his goatee. I also need to improve my cultivation after returning to the mountain. I think I'll have to take out the old pills. Otherwise, I won't be able to cultivate it in a short time. With that, Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao. You're the youngest among us, but your cultivation is the most profound. I really don't know how you did it. That's how handsome people are. You can't be jealous. What's this set of techniques called? Just take one word from our names or titles and combine it. Zhang Tianyi said loudly. I'll say sky. I can only say one word. Sky fire? Blood. The 23rd generation blood, Mary said. Fire, Bifla said. Blood fire? Fire blood? Sky fire? Sky blood. In the end, the four of them combined their words and came up with a name. Sky fire blood roar. Chen Zhao sighed. He wondered if it was because the higher one's cultivation level was, the worse their names were. The other three also looked like they'd been fed shit. Forget it. Change the name, Bifla said. I think it's embarrassing to cultivate a technique with such a name. Then give it a good name. Chen Zhao snapped his fingers. If we can't think of a good name, we can find someone else. Who? A professional. Chen Zhao took out his phone. Zhang Ting. Gather everyone for a long-distance video conference. Zhang Ting was frustrated. She felt that Chen Zhao was going to ask a ridiculous question again. Boss, everyone's here. What instructions do you have for our work? Give me a name for a cultivation technique. It's best if it's a cultivation technique used to cultivate the domain. At that time, he would be able to extort a huge sum of money from them. Chen Zhao gathered his thoughts and increased his speed. It took about 2 hours for each cycle to complete a full cycle. Furthermore, every complete revolution would cause the domain to change by 0.001%. However, the process of cultivation was very boring. But Chen Zhao didn't plan to stop halfway. Last time on Demon Island, he was plotted against by Leviathan Abaron Tajimas, and was almost sealed by him. This gave Chen Zhao a great sense of danger. This world was far more dangerous than he had imagined. Chen Zhao tirelessly cultivated the celestial transformation again and again. When Chen Zhao reached 200 cycles, the power of the small world had more than doubled. Moreover, the small world actually started producing vitality. Although the vitality produced by the small world was insignificant, Chen Zhao really felt that the small world was producing vitality. This vitality wasn't as much as the vitality that Chen Zhao lost under normal circumstances. The increase and decrease in vitality slowed down Chen Zhao's aging speed. Of course, this was also indirectly extending Chen Zhao's lifespan. According to this theory, the higher one's cultivation level was, the more life force the small world could produce. Would he really be able to achieve immortality one day? Chen Zhao suddenly had even more motivation. He started cultivating again. However, to Chen Zhao's disappointment, although the small world kept strengthening, it didn't produce more vitality like he had expected. Time flew in the river diagram. Chen Zhao's small world had strengthened several times. Although it had strengthened several times, there wasn't much change in its nature. Chen Zhao felt that vitality was more like the fruit that the small world had produced. If Chen Zhao didn't absorb it, the fruit would slowly grow. Moreover, the heavenly pattern that was close to Chen Zhao's body could be moved freely. Chen Zhao stayed here for almost 3 months. When he returned to reality, it had been less than 2 hours. Chen Zhao snuck back to his room and went to bed without a sound. Because of Chen Zhao's habit, he would go out in the middle of the night from time to time. He would sleep later than Fei Lai every time. So, Chen Zhao had long mastered the ability to sneak into bed without anyone noticing. He had a good sleep. Chen Zhao, who had just fallen asleep, suddenly opened his eyes. He wondered if he could inject vitality into Fei Lai's body through the small world. Chen Zhao put a hand on Fei Lai's waist. He controlled the heavenly pattern and connected it to Fei Lai's skin. Fei Lai moaned softly. She seemed to feel Chen Zhao's movements. Her eyes were still closed, but one of her legs was already on Chen Zhao's body. Chen Zhao didn't stop cultivating. His hands weren't idle either. Darling, are you asleep? It had a hard shell and huge pincers. When its body was pushed up, it seemed to be 2 meters tall. Everyone was stunned. What was that? Just then, the lobster started picking up the dead fish with its pincers and started eating. It did not seem to care about the people in the distance. Crack! The sound of the camera woke Alex up. Everyone get out of here. Take the film from that guy's camera. Alex almost screamed as she gave the order. No, it's my personal property. You can't do this. You bunch of bandits and bandits. 9 heavens, Divine King. Chen Zhao tossed the prepared documents before everyone. Everyone fought with each other, directly tearing apart the information. Chen Zhao crossed his legs and ignored them. In the end, Stephen was the first to get the torn information. Giant lobster, up to 5 meters long, 8 meters tall when standing upright, 580 kilograms in weight. Scavengers not aggressive towards living creatures. Giant turtle, up to 5 meters long, 8 meters wide, 2,800 kilograms in weight. Feeds on small and medium-sized fish. Not aggressive towards humans. Giant crab, up to 4 meters long, 660 kilograms in weight. Omnivorous, not aggressive towards humans. Giant eel, up to 18 meters long, 8 meters wide, 3,900 kilograms in weight. All living creatures are their targets. Extremely aggressive. Ichthyosaur, social amphibian, up to 30 centimeters long, 15 kilograms in weight. Vegetarian. Knows how to use simple tools. Intelligence is close to that of primates. Everyone looked at the information on the information, as if they were looking at a new world of novelty. There were 5 new species recorded on it, and each of them was very special. Just imagine, it was like the dinosaur island in the movie Jurassic World. Once a complete tourism industry was established, there would be an endless stream of tourists. This island was a treasure trove, a mountain of gold that hadn't been developed yet. Everyone present was a smart person, and they knew how valuable this island was. The island is too small, Risfar said. We need to fill the sea, but we can't destroy the island's ecology. Risfar was a businessman and had a clear mind. He knew that the island's greatest treasure was its unique ecology. However, the island was too small. It couldn't accommodate too many tourists. A high-quality tourist island not only had all kinds of facilities, but it also had to have a certain amount of space. If tourists came to the island and found it crowded, they would only lose interest. Okay, let's talk about the share distribution, Chen Zhao said. I want 30% of the 200 million, and you guys can split the remaining 70%. Also, this is just for buying shares. You need money to build the island too. The money will be used to buy shares. Among them, Zola had the least assets. Even including her Baroness brand, she only had $2 billion in assets. She didn't even have $100 million in cash. However, the opportunity to make money was right in front of her. She didn't want to give it up. No, this wasn't a chance to make money. It was a chance to leave a legacy for 100 years. Zola, how much cash can you take out? Rasfa asked in a low voice. The father and daughter had different identities, but they were father and daughter after all. They had to make up for each other at critical times. 100 million, Zola said in a low voice. How come so little? Didn't Chen Zhao tell you about this before? He did, but I didn't think much about it.